Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian Primehurst, Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end-of-day recap for Monday, March 29th. This will be a quick one because we have a member webinar coming up here at 5 o'clock to go over our new MarketWebs release and some new features there. So that is for members, and hope to see you there. So let's go over the themes of risk disclaimer. Everything that we're going through here is for information purposes only, not giving out any advice, recommendations, anything like that. So overall, I would say kind of a little bit of a boring day. Theme of the day, weak breath. We kind of noticed that right from the start. Again, it just reminded me a little bit of last week where, a couple of days last week, just out of the gate, even though the indices weren't down that much, it just was weak market breadth and continue to kind of act that way throughout the session. This is what it looks like too, like in terms of raw numbers that you can see for the day. Dow had 19 advancers, 11 decliners, 47 new I don't know how that's the case there. So maybe this is off, but I'm considering there's not that many names in the Dow. But S&P decliners 299, advancers 206, and then big in the Nasdaq 2,389 decliners versus 572 advancing names. And I think that has to do a lot with the small cap names. I would assume more small cap in Nasdaq. 4-week lows also picked up there. You could see that doubled compared to the advancers there. So I would say pretty nasty breath. Small caps were under pressure today. You could see over here that they were down 2.8% for the day. They were flirting with the lows of the day throughout the session. So really not that great, just not great price action there. And low volatility names, that's something that we've been talking about. If you look at areas of the market like SPLV, that's something that I've been mentioning a few times, tweeting about, that we are seeing some nice momentum out of the lower beta names. Again, I keep saying the same thing on Twitter. They're not sexy, they're not exciting, but they're going up. And, it seems that from what I gather, and when I open up Twitter, I'll see a comment here and there, and I see some traders confused. I see some traders just not being able to understand it, but just there's a lot of things that are playing catch-up mode from last year, and I keep kind of explaining it in these videos, but it's getting a bit tiring to explain it, but it is what it is. There's things like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, the consumer staples, which I've been long and actually get out of the trade. Maybe I got out of it a little bit too early, but up another 1%. So there's money to be made here. It's just not as, I get it. It's not as exciting for some people, but Coca-Cola, Pepsi took out another Virgin point of control up there. Verizon, which I got out of, I just didn't hold options until today, but that worked up another 1.1%. So there's some things, and if you kind of stick to, these areas of the market, you're faring better, and you could actually be profiting, if you're sticking with names like the group SPLV. But you could see it's breaking out to all new highs. So this is unfortunately where the action is in the market. XLU had another green day, up 1%. So, I would imagine eventually this will change, but for now, we saw a lot of areas participate on Friday, and it was a little bit difficult, I thought, analyzing charts this weekend because just everything closed super strong. So I figured that in the first hour or so of the day, we would figure out which areas of the market were real versus which just, being that everything got a nice move at the end of the day, it's tough to separate which ones are going to see follow through and which ones are trends versus which ones just go back to the chop. And I think for now, the growth just went back to the chop. And again, it's more, you could see lower value versus growth were kind of in line with one another. But again, it's more, the other The other theme that I see is just higher beta versus lower beta, right? That SPLV, for example, is low beta stocks, and you can see that the breadth, just a lot of areas of the market down. Clean energy, solar continues to get hit. Blockchain stocks still finished positive for the session, but they gave back a lot of their gains. You couldn't, chasing too in this market, very, very difficult. So, we're getting right now, 1 or 2 days that are nice, and, 2 or 3 other days that are showing, not so great breadth over the last week. So, again, we're getting close to you know, the positive here is that we're getting close to the end of March, which we know, right? We've been talking about this too for a while, that it's weak seasonality. We've got a lot of rebalancing going on, and I didn't even get to talk really about too much about the this fund that went under. It just goes to show you, in my opinion, that I seem to always get questions about, like, what's the next thing that's going to move the markets, and it's really difficult to predict. That's a case more of not so much the product that they were using, in my opinion, just the fact that they were over leveraged and brokers gave them too much, too much rope in terms of, to do some things. And, apparently this was a player in the marketplace that got into trouble previously in terms of insider trading. So, in my opinion, these brokers gave this particular family office slash fund, a lot of leeway and something that they shouldn't have. So that's the main problem. Just too much leverage, and that's the takeaway too from when things go badly for funds is sometimes they're over leveraged, and they had a number of things that didn't go their way last week, which caused them having to liquidate, and it's just a bad place to be. So if you're trading on margin, if you're trading with a lot of leverage, there's lessons to be learned. It can sometimes end very badly. One of the things too, just to kind of reiterate, and this is something that I've had up here for the last couple of weeks, but checklist for a choppy tape, things that you want to avoid, right, is having large positions, right, in a choppy tape. Less positions help, right, not a huge quantity of positions. What I've been saying too, which I know is a little bit controversial with some people, but trading little to no short-term options. It's just very difficult. And in a trending market, you can make some money in options. When it is, in my opinion, again, when it is a choppy tape, when the market's going sideways, that's not a place to trade a lot of options, especially on the short-term side. So, scalping is one thing, and if you're an expert scalper, just using options to day trade, you might be faring a little bit better depending on your level of technical trading. But I think it's very difficult. I see a lot of names, that are starting to, besides the names that are not consumer staples, that are not some of the other areas, like even, industrials have been very strong, but they didn't really participate today. Healthcare actually looked pretty decent today, XLV, so we can go over a couple other charts here, but I think the healthcare names look pretty good. But again, it's another low beta area of the market. So again, and I think if I had to make so again, let me finish my thought. But there's just, when you have breadth as it is today and how it was mostly last week, it's just a lot. You're really upping the difficulty level. So a lot of this type of atmosphere that we're in and where we've been for the last couple of weeks, it's kind of the survive and advance, right? If you're committing too much capital and pressing at the wrong time, it's not gonna, it's gonna hurt you more than anything else in this market. And I keep having conversations with people, and I'm saying, why are you trying to trade options in this market, short-term options? But I still see people trying to do it. I don't really understand why. Also, right now in this market, singles, base hits versus home runs. I just see a lot of names that are stalling out. Facebook was one name that saw some option activity today, but it does have some resistance for the week. and that level is 292. So if you're watching this, or if you were watching the option activity today, 292.33 is a level to watch. Also, a few other names that saw some option activity today. This KTOS, up a nice day, up 5.4%. I did not play this name for the day. I knew it just had some resistance, so you got a nice little day out of it, up 5%. But I knew that it had some resistance up here at 27.65, so I skipped it. Here's what I traded for the day. A little bit of McDonald's. I try to take some targets in the beginning of the day. A couple of things. A starter and Wayfair didn't work. So I had a couple of trades like that. And again, that's just a choppy market. But again, these are a lot of paper cut losses. If I were to be trading options, they would be bigger losses. So McDonald's, I mentioned this one on Twitter too. I think it's leaning that way. I know Yum also looks pretty decent, right? Yum made this move, out of value, came back, retested, also sitting here. So again, there's some things. I tried trading a little bit of Baidu on the announcement that Morgan Stanley was done. A little bit of profits there. So again, singles. I traded a little bit of Morgan Stanley too. I bailed on the last piece of it. Just don't want to be in anything options very long. So again, I'm scalping a little bit with options, but I'm very quick. I'm not waiting till the paint dries in any of this stuff. Especially like something with Baidu, where that the options have been jacked up because of the situation, right? If it doesn't move, you're going to lose because of the implied volatility coming out of the options very quickly. I tried trading a little bit of pins today. So again, I'm not completely abandoning growth names, but I just, again, think that they're a little bit too hard. This did get out of value, and normally I would give this a shot for tomorrow because I don't think it looks too bad here, but I'm erring on the more conservative side. Another name that people keep asking me about is C Capital. Again, these things, as long as they're below all the short-term moving averages, just too difficult. Look at what happened to TTD today. Going back to those lows from the beginning of March. IWM too. I mentioned IWM was weak. Failed at the bottom of value. And we talked about IWM kind of being the wild card for the week. It closed inside value, but is now leaning lower. And again, big down day, down 2.8% for the day. Bright spot, Dow stocks still look pretty good. BlackRock, which I've been long, that closed close to the highs. I also like Berkshire here, BRKB. Right, not at the highs yet, but moving that way. One of the names that I was a little bit undecided at the end of the day, I'll wait till tomorrow. This is Medtronic, right? I mentioned on Friday that some of the medical device names ticked up a little bit. Still very close to a breakout in Medtronic, so it's a name I'll be watching for tomorrow. All right, guys, that's it for today's recap. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.